Morning. Welcome to the webinar. But before we get started, I wanted to pose a question here because we didn't ask this when you registered, but there should be a question popping up in your window here. How'd you hear about this? We want to make sure that whatever marketing we used, we understand what worked and what didn't work.
Don't like my version.
Lots of others. All right. Okay, you keep filling it out as we get started. So what we wanted to accomplish today and the purpose of this webinar is to share with you how you can leverage your Microsoft subscription that you already have that can improve your operations without the need to buy additional software. You're inundated, I'm sure, with software vendors asking for a seat at the table. It's good to know what you have, and that's what our intention is to show you that. The Microsoft ecosystem is changing on a regular basis. I know that because I watch it on a regular basis, and it's really hard to keep up with. So that coupled with how to understand your licensing structure can be a challenge at times. Our hope is that you'll have a better understanding of what you have, the art of the possible of what you have, and will hopefully put you in a better position than you were before you started. So, quick introduction of me, and then of Origamic. So, my name's Jim Blizzard. I've been with Origamic for about 6 months. I've been in this space for well more than 6 months, more like 30 years. Been following the technology track as it relates to operations. I started my career in operations and was always fascinated how to make operations better and faster, easier, more higher quality, leveraging technology. So if you ever want to have a coffee sometime, I'll tell you the story how I met Ross Perot and got involved in a lot of that stuff. So it's a fun story. But Origamics Solutions is who I work for, and we've got a few of our folks here, and I think you know many of them. And we are a operations management advisory consulting firm. We have between our folks here, we have lots of years, decades of experience, and we work with small and medium-sized businesses, nonprofits, and state and local governments, helping them focus on leveling up their business so that they can build a strong operational foundation through implementing efficient processes, bringing on new tools and technology, and helping people execute more efficiently. All of this is with the purpose of creating repeatable results for long-term sustainable success. So we partner with our clients in their success. All right, before we jump into the meat of the conversation, I want to put a little context around it. So we're going to focus on business capabilities and how the technology helps support those business capabilities. So I want to put a grounding down on the capabilities I'm talking about here. So there's every organization is different, but there's some cores that are always there, right? So finance and accounting. Some people love that. Some people don't love that. But that's where you do your obviously your invoicing, your billing, your budgets, your payroll, anything to do with money. Operations, that can be very different depending on what your organization does, but it's either operations around product delivery or service delivery. Usually there's some sort of inventory. That inventory might be hours, but the inventory could be widgets as well. So the management of that inventory is a piece of that. All sorts of processes are included in your operations, and having effective, efficient processes and being able to monitor those processes in a a way that allows you to kind of understand the health of the process is important. And that comes to where you want to maybe visualize the data around your processes. And so that's operations in a nutshell. I jumped down to here to the bottom here. Performance management is performance monitoring, performance management is part of that, right? So you look at finance and accounting and operations, a lot of data, a lot of things you need to track, a lot of things you want to trend. And so having a good foundation of performance management is important. Human resources. People are usually the center of what you do. And recruiting and hiring, onboarding, talent development, training, employee engagement are all important components of any enterprise. Sales and marketing. That's lead management, that's advertising, all those types of things you do, all for the purpose of building prospective customer relationships. And then customer service itself, that's no matter what you do, having happy customers is one of the most important things that's there. And so that means you have to have good customer communication support, the ability to personalize. Smaller organizations, smaller businesses have a unique potential to be much more personal with their customers, and that's super important. And building and enforcing strong customer relationships is a key component of that. You also have to think about risk. So there's a lot of things as a business owner, as a business leader in a small, medium business that's sort of on your shoulders. These 5 capabilities surrounded by monitoring and managing performance and ensuring that you are managing risk appropriately might require you to have a little bit of help. Technology can help enable that. So when I say technology enablement, my definition of that is the strategic use of technology to empower your company to work to function efficiently and productively, gain a competitive edge, help you manage that risk and compliance, and enhance business performance. All right, so now we start to dig into a little bit closer to what the root of the matter is, but this will circle back around to those capabilities at the end as we talk about how to apply these technologies to your business, right? So at the core of technology for most organizations is, and you're here because of Microsoft 365. 90% of companies in general leverage Microsoft 365 over Google Workspace. It has the market. You're in there. We want to show you what you have. Oops. Now, because you have a lot of business capabilities you have to support, you're probably inundated with a lot of companies that are asking you to buy their software. We can help you. We can help you, and that's true. But you may already have the software that you need. These are just a small subset of folks that might be knocking at your door. They're the ones that have knocked at my door, and sometimes I've opened and sometimes I haven't. Let me ask you a quick question, another poll real quick. Let me jump back over to there because I want to get your input. Find the right question. Give me a second. Well, I can't find the question. Oh, here we go. So when you think about Microsoft 365, so hopefully the poll's gone up there. What do you think you get out of Microsoft 365? Let's start with that. What when you think about Microsoft products, what is it that you have or you think you have with your license? One of the big ones typically is Microsoft Word, right? Or Outlook is one. Just email in general. Yeah. Any others? Yeah, Teams, yep. PowerPoint, SharePoint, very typical. Yep, it's good. All right, so um, there's another question I'll ask down the road here, but this is about managing your subscription, but we'll grab that a little bit later. But sometimes if you do any work with looking at the subscriptions, understanding the subscriptions with Microsoft feels like you need a PhD. And sometimes it feels like, it really feels like you do. But let me explain it in a bit of a high level here. So there's three levels or three categories of licensing for Microsoft 365. There's the personal, that's what you can get with your home. There's business, that's typically for your SMBs, for small, medium-sized companies. And then the enterprise are for the large companies. They all come with sort of different components. We're going to focus on the business tier and specifically on the standard implementation of that. That's what most people to end up having. All right, so don't get overwhelmed by this. We're not going. I am not going to read this to you. But I wanted to give you a sense on. There's a lot that you can get with your Microsoft subscription. This is one of 5 pages of dots that you can look at. We're going to walk through these at a high level and then dig a little deeper into things that can help your operations. So obviously you get the Office apps. Those are what we saw pop up in the survey, right? Collaboration tools, that would be like Teams, things like that, right? We saw that as well. Email and calendars. Something called Bookings you may not be aware of. Bookings is a part of your calendar capability, and we'll look at that in just a minute, but that's something that could be helpful for you. It could help you get more appointments if appointments is kind of what you do for a living. Online meetings, we're on an online meeting right now, so you're familiar with that. And audio conferencing, that's also part of what we're doing here. But if you notice when the invite goes out, you get also, and here's an audio conference call you can call into for the same thing. So this is the core subscription. And this is what these are the things that most people are aware of with Microsoft. But there is more, quite a bit more that you might not be aware of. So file storage, somebody put SharePoint up there. There's a couple options with file storage. We'll walk through those. And it can seem redundant, and I'll try to wave my magic wand and help you understand why there's different types of storage that's out there and how you can leverage that in your business. Robust search across all three things 365. You can have your search configured to search your email as well as documents and SharePoint and Teams and pretty much anything that you have on there, all tied to what you have access to. So if someone can't search your email, one of your staff could not, but you can search your own email as well as capture other documents within your enterprise. Forms, so you can build forms, then publish forms and collect data through forms. Lists is it's a component of SharePoint that allows you to actually collect data a little bit like you would maybe with a spreadsheet, but it gives you more capability, more functionality, and more user-friendly than something like Excel. And there's some good use cases for using that. And then project management. A lot of people don't know that you don't have to go buy a project management tool to get some basic project management capabilities. Microsoft will give that to you out of the box. And then there's more. So the other thing you get, this is interesting, there's a whole sub-ecosystem within Microsoft called Viva. And one of the things that you get out of the box with Viva, some of it you have to pay for, but this is one of the pieces you get out of the box, is a training and learning platform. So think of a learning management system, an LMS. You have, and we'll jump into that in just a couple of minutes. So you can use that to help your own learning, but also provide some additional support in your staff's development. Process automation. You can automate a lot of stuff out of the box. There's also premium versions that you can get of the automation capabilities that give you even more. But there's a lot you can do and without ever having to upgrade. And that can help you with, and we'll talk through some use cases on that, but help you with some of your operational things. Tools to create no-code applications. So using drag and drop kind of technology, quote unquote technology, you can build applications. And we'll talk about a little bit about what you can do with that from an operations perspective. Analytics and dashboard tools. So you get Power BI, which is a very powerful tool. You get that out of the box with a standard subscription. And there's an opportunity to upgrade that to give you a little more capabilities, but you get pretty much everything you need out of the free version. And that can help you with some of your visualization of your data and a visualization of your trends and that type of thing. So we're not going to talk about this because this is all the technical babble piece here, but this is what in a nutshell, Microsoft 365 gives you a lot of capabilities to make sure that you're safe, secure, and managed from a cyber risk perspective. And then I mentioned this data lifecycle management as part of the premium license, but I just thought it's an interesting component that most people don't know is out there. But with Microsoft's suite of products, you can actually, if you're an organization that has high compliance requirements, you can actually automate some of your compliance and your monitoring and your auditing of the things that need to be compliant to help you manage that a little bit better and not have to keep it off on the side on sticky notes on your monitor. All right.
The only one who did that.
You'd be surprised. I got a really funny story. If we have time, I'll share it at the end on how a leader in a very large insurance company managed his strategy on sticky notes. So we're going to dive deep now. Those are the categories of things. We're going to go a little bit deeper here. So what I'd like for you to do as we go through this, and I'll pause and ask the question, but if you can give me I forgot what I was going to do. Oh, the little icons you can put in the chat. I'll do it in the chat, and then I'll share. I'll let you respond in the chat. But so one of the things that we talked about bookings, right? So I don't know if you're familiar with the product called Calendly. A lot of folks use that. That allows you to create a link and create a schedule that allows people to book themselves, so that you can have that. You can have that right out of the gate with Microsoft. So I'm going to just show you what that looks like. If you haven't used it before. It's part of Outlook, but it's sort of hidden. I need to sign in. Sorry, forgot. Signed into everything else except this one. So with this, this allows people to come in, pick a date, and I've restricted the amount of time, the times that it has here that I'm available. You can book a 30-minute meeting or a 15-minute meeting, and you can configure those differently. You can also do an hour meeting or a lunch or dinner or whatever it is that you want to do. You can pre-configure that. I use this a lot. I actually put this by default. You can make it go on to the byline of your email. So sincerely, Jim Blizzard, book time with me. I also put it on my LinkedIn, and after I put it on my LinkedIn, I got a lot more people scheduling time with me. I do a lot of posting on LinkedIn, and that allowed people to not have to go through the LinkedIn chat and be able to schedule time directly with me. So that's a nice tool to have. And Calendly costs money, at least to get the version that's helpful. And this is for free. If you are an organization that has hourly workers, et cetera, where there or shift work, there's a hot product that's in the offering here called Shifts. It's related to When I Work, and Seven Shifts is another sort of competitor there. But you can create schedules. It can have Swift shopping, Swift shift swapping, and time tracking as well. So it's a great tool set. Used a lot in restaurants because you have a lot of that kind of shift swapping and who's on first kind of thing that goes on there. For collaboration, Teams. It's a lot with Teams. There's a whole nother webinar on Teams we could do on what is available to you in Teams. I think the basics most people know is I can do calls, I can do chat, I can store files. There's some art to how you want to structure all of that within your organization, but it's very, very great collaboration tool once you get the hang of it. Competitors are Slack and Zoom. One of the things, they all kind of have some of the same capabilities: transcription, recording. One thing I'll mention about, we're not using it in this one because we had a small turnout, but webinar capabilities within, so you can actually do a real formal webinar where it has a lot more capabilities than just a regular call within Zoom, or I'm sorry, within Teams. And the file storage within Teams has version history built in. You don't see that in some of the other tool sets. And then the other extra benefit, if you think of this as a benefit, is chat persistence. So chat will stay there forever. That's good, and also can be annoying at times because it's always there. But some of these other tools, at the end of the call and maybe a day after, the chats go away. So you can't go back to say, what was that they said in that meeting, right? Unless you've somehow recorded it and recorded that and had a note taker take some of that for you. So then there's in collaboration, following the collaboration path here, there's Microsoft Loop. There's a couple tools out there. Confluence and Notion is another one. This is relatively new for Microsoft, and it's evolving fairly quickly. But these are shareable components that can be updated by multiple people in multiple places at the same time. So an example would be, and I've used this. I use this in business pursuits, is if we're responding to an RFP, hey, who's got questions? We're coming up to a question time in an RFP. What are some of the questions we need to make sure we get on the books? I could create a table, and I can probably show that to you real quick. Give me a second here. There it is. But I'll create a table with a list of questions and some other information on there that allows and I can send it out in an email, I can send it in a chat, I can send it in both, and however method the person who receives it wants to edit it, they edit it. It all shows up in one place. So so this was an example where I put wanted some feedback where people could add to it. Here, I can add some sort of text into here. If somebody is looking at this in their email, they're going to see that text updated, and it's all kind of real time. So it's a pretty interesting move that they're making. In the next really few weeks, they're going to actually integrate that into Microsoft Word, so that you can collaborate on a document in a different way than you're collaborating today. So it's just something to keep an eye on. Probably not something you want to embrace with both arms in the now, but I think it's something that's going to actually end up taking over the collaboration space. Something no one's really doing in the same way. Video editing. If you do any video editing, you might go out there and buy Adobe Premiere, DaVinci Resolve. Clipchamp is something that's built into Microsoft subscriptions, and they're pretty much the same tool. They look pretty much the same. They all work the same. So, and then there's Microsoft Stream. So when you have, which is equivalent to a product called Loom. So a lot of folks use that, but it allows you to do screenshots. I mean, screen sharing or screen recording, I should say. It allows you to integrate with this clip champ, right? So if you look at, here's a video that I put together. This is where your meeting videos go when you record a meeting, but you can also record a meeting here by doing a screen recording, just, fireside chat recordings with the camera pointing to you. You can actually import video and kind of edit it, etc. So real professional output can come out of this. And I'll just show here that if I want to open it, I can actually open it in Clipchamp. I can't say that. Clipchamp. That then you can kind of play around with the timing and the words and add music and do all that kind of great stuff. So it's some really good power that you have there. Whether or not you have the propensity to be able to use it, if you're like some of us who are not the creative types, but if you've got creative types on your team, that's the tools that they can use to help you even do some of your advertising. So that can kind of get into some of your marketing and that type of thing. All right. So, well, let me ask this question. You just put it in the chat. Of these that we've gone through so far, which are some that you were not aware of? Pull the chat back up here. Clipchamp, yeah. This, yeah. Loop. Yeah, doesn't surprise me. Loop is new because it's a relatively new tool that and Microsoft is really good about adding new tools and not telling you about them. So you need to have folks like me who actually look at that on a regular basis, and so we get to the end. You can follow me because I do a lot of posting on these things when they come out, and it would for that purpose, because I know that unless you're a Microsoft junkie, who's got time, right? So under sort of data management, there's lists and forms. Most folks are familiar with SurveyMonkey and tools like that. Forms can do the same thing, but it can do a lot more. It can actually initiate automation. It can be an input form for a lot of different purposes. It can actually be an import. It can actually be a form on top of a list so that you can actually almost create almost like a little application out of that. But let me just show you a little bit what these look like if you've not been familiar with them. Actually attach this list to I've attached it actually to a Teams here. So you can actually attach these lists here as well. So this is a quick issue tracker list, right? So it allows me to add new records, right? And I can configure this however I want to. I can have drop downs. I can have calculations occur on all these things. So it's a little bit like a spreadsheet. It's a little more user friendly in that regard. And you can create some interesting views, right? So there's some out of the box views here. So issues grouped by type and by person and that type of thing. So there's some and then you can add as many kinds of views as you want. They could be gallery views, so we can look at it this way. So there's no pictures in this particular one, but if you had something that had a picture to it, if it was like an inventory, you can actually look at it this way and gives you a little more information and allows you to kind of play around with that. So you can export it to Excel. And like I said, you can actually put a form on top of it so that you can do data entry in a different way. So it's a really interesting and cool way to keep track of things. So with the ways I've used it before with my small business is I've had about 100 employees all had laptops, keeping track of who had a laptop, who had what laptop, that type of thing, right? Inventory, asset inventory type things, keeping track of invoices was another one that we did for a while. That just what's paid, what's not paid, until we got a little more integrated into QuickBooks, right? And things like that that gave us that capability. So there's some good stuff there that you can use. Let's look at forms as well. So let me just jump here. Hopefully I'm not making you dizzy with all this back and forth here, but I just want to be able to show you a little bit of what it looks like. So forms allows you to, this is one for expense reimbursement. So what this does is you can add questions, etc., and you can make them be drop-down selections. There's lots of things you can do with each of these. You can put limits on it, make it required. You can make it be add branching to say if it has this answer, then go this path. If it has this answer, then go this path. So it can really help out quite a bit. At the end of the day, you could use it like, hey, we're having an Evite. You can set it out as an Evite too. But this particular one, it's collecting that information, it stores that information, but that's also then triggers a workflow that goes out for approval. So there's some really cool things you can do here for very little time investment. A little bit of knowledge you have to do it, but it's a super powerful tool. And I'll show you what it looks like in a preview. Preview. So this allows me to enter the data in. I can change the prompts to make it more clear what it's looking for. You can upload files, et cetera, et cetera. So that's that. Power BI. I did not have a chance to put some Power BI reports together that were not client proprietary, so I didn't want to share those with everybody. But Power BI is a tool that's equivalent to Qlik, if you've heard of that. Google Data Studio. There's a couple of, even Airtable has some of the capabilities in it, but it allows you to multiple data sources to create visualizations. So it's a way to do your reporting in a way that allows, it's really geared more toward building trending and that type of stuff. So you don't have to get caught up in the Excel madness, right? But it does work a lot like Excel. So your Excel skills do convert over. It just gives you a lot more power and a lot more ability to put it into visuals. There's a lot more capabilities that, like, for example, I just recently did one for an organization that ships books all over the country. And so we actually pulled all the data in and then we put it on a map, right? So they can see here's all the places that we've got our books across the nation, right? And the map can drill down into counties, into specific, this was for schools, into school districts. So it's pretty powerful tool. And that is one that I would highly recommend you exploring as you think about this. Productivities. We talk about Office, but there's an Office app too, and I'm just going to point this out to you. I'm finding myself using it more and more because it's gotten better and better over the months and years. But so first thing you'll see allows you to, I have Copilot. That is, Copilot does not come with this. That's an added thing here, but you can create a document. This will get you to your OneDrive. We'll talk about OneDrive in a minute, as well as other apps that you can get to. This is all the apps you have available to you within your subscription, right? So if I say all apps, our subscriptions, we've added to our subscription, but these are all the things that you have access to. And this is a quick way to get to them, right? But what I like really is at this home, I don't know about you, but I work on a lot of things throughout the day and I can't remember where I saved it and what was the last thing I worked on. So this tells me here, this is the last things these are things that I've recently opened, right? So it'll take me back really quickly for a little, it'll take you quite a ways back and say, oh yeah, that's what did I call that? Oh, that's what I called it, right? And I don't have to really remember where it was at. It also tells me other folks that are in my team and what they're working on that I might be collaborating with. So it gives me that point of view as well. Things that have been shared with me or things I've shared, it gives me that point of view. So it's just a really quick way to get a sense of what you worked on. To me, this has become more of a saving grace for me because I work on 5 clients at a time, and which one is where, and how do I keep up with all that is a bit of a challenge. So if you share that challenge as I have, then that could be the thing for you. Let's talk a little bit about Microsoft Planner. So Microsoft Planner and it can help you with task management as well as project management. Out of the box is a little bit light. There's a upgraded version you can get if you upgrade your license, but let me do it this way. Open that. So Microsoft Planner, there's a site you can go to, but it's actually highly integrated into Teams as well. I won't go into the Teams version just because I want to show a couple other things that go with it here. On Planner. There it is. All right. So if I go to my plans, actually I'll use this one because I set this one up for the demo. So this is a planner. So by default, it gives it to you sort of in a Kanban approach, right? So each of these tasks or these items that you want to work on, you've got lots of information you can put in here. You can have be repeating, you can have due dates, start dates, you can have put notes and descriptions in here, but you can also have sub checklists, right? So in this case, so identifying goals and objectives, define the primary objectives, define the primary goals. Silly example here, but you can add attachments. So there's a lot of stuff you can have on this particular to-do item, and you can put it into here where you can drag and say, okay, well, we're in the process of starting that. Now we've started it. Now we're executing it, et cetera. Just kind of jump it through the process. You can also view it in just a list view, right? So standard kind of list like that. You can look at it from I don't know if I have any dates on any of these, or maybe they're in the past. But I guess you would also see them almost like not this quite a Gantt chart, but you'll see them as a almost like an appointment on this calendar. And here we go, right here. There's one there. So it'll show up on the calendar, and then you can actually look at some productivity metrics to say how quickly are we getting these things done, all in the context of whatever this is, whatever this project is. There's the to-do list is called my tasks, right? So this gives me everything that's been assigned to me, anything that this is everything, anything that I may have put on for my own tasks, etc. Right? So I'm going to open up another application, not to make it confusing, but there's a standalone application that mimics this. Much like everything in Microsoft, you can see things, the same thing in different places. But so this is my to-do list, right? So these are all the tasks that I have. Let me see, all my plan tasks that I have. This incorporates, and I would just add a new task. And like if I go to my day, somebody assigned me something due today. This reminds me I need to do it today. And it's a great place to sort of pull all that together. It also shows up in your Outlook. So I'm not going to go into Outlook to show you that, but because you might see my calendar and get scared. So, but lots of ways you can manage your work with that. So if that's something of interest, we can do some more deep diving on that in other videos or webinars. But employee development, Viva Learning. There's also this thing called Viva Engage and Viva Connections. This comes with it. Meta, Facebook, what used to formerly known as Facebook, it has a thing called Workplace, where it's like Facebook with communities and news feeds, and that's what we have here with Viva. Has the same thing. I'm not going to show you that. It's helpful. That's usually more important in your larger organization when you have to engage, when you want to have more engagement from your staff. But Viva Learning is something that I think is good for us to take a quick look at. So as I mentioned before, it's an LMS built in. And I'm going to go into the admin side. So this is if I were a user, this would be the classes, find classes that I can take, et cetera, right? This is my learning. I don't have anything that I've signed up for yet. There's also these academies are learning paths that you can have. But if I show it here, so there's different providers. Waiting for it to load here. The two primary providers are LinkedIn Learning. So they've got a relationship with LinkedIn that so you can bring in their learning capabilities. They've also got two training path. They've got one's focused on 365 and one on just Microsoft stuff in general. You can also add your own provider called SharePoint. So if you have your own videos, your own documents that you use for training, et cetera, you can connect it to here so that everybody knows when they wanted to go do something that's learning, they go to learning, and then it's all there. And when you have it in here, it tracks who's done it, is it done, that type of thing, right? So it's a very helpful tool set. There's a little configuration of your SharePoint site to make that to work, but it walks you through that process in kind of a wizardly kind of a way. Again, I know there's a lot of stuff I'm throwing at you, and this is really just a survey of what's out there. I'm going to ask a question at the end of where you might want to see us dive deeper in future webinars here. So some about content storage, OneDrive versus SharePoint. So OneDrive is like Google Drive. SharePoint is been around for a really, really long time. A lot of people have a bad taste in their mouth with SharePoint because SharePoint has not always been good. It is a much better, and if you've stayed away from it, you might want to go look at it again. But why would I use one over the other? So OneDrive, I think of that as sort of your personal storage, right? The one thing it does, and if you haven't done this, I encourage you to do this, you can actually set it up to do backups of your hard drive. So you'll never lose your hard drive data again. And I've lost my hard drive and been able to restore it and not lost anything. It's pretty, unless an error occurs, it's almost instantaneous on that. And so when you talk about SharePoint's about collaboration. So you can collaborate on documents. You can create sites, which is, think of an intranet. So you can actually create like an intranet site in a much better way than you used to be able to do that before. And it's really more about collaboration. So they do use some of the same, it does use some of the same technology behind the scenes, but it's represented very differently. If on OneDrive, I tend not to share stuff on OneDrive just because then I have to manage it. If I share it via SharePoint, even if it's outside my organization, administrators have a larger they can control access a little bit better than just sharing it from your OneDrive, your personal OneDrive. And then I've mentioned Teams here for content storage. It's really SharePoint. Think of Teams as a facade on top of SharePoint that allows you to do a lot more collaboration, but it is built upon the SharePoint. So anytime you put a file out there, it's actually putting it on a SharePoint in the SharePoint document library. So the two big powerhouses here are Power Automate and Power Apps. So there's a couple alternatives out there. Zapier is one that's a paid one. OutSystems and AppSheet's another couple that are out there that do this. But what I like about Power Automate is very easy to, very user-friendly, I should say, and it has a high number of out-of-the-box automations that you can do. You can have a document come in and have it go through an approval process. You can have I'm trying to think of some that I've done. You can have a form. When we have a new hire for onboarding, let's say, fill out a form about all the information about that person, and then it can actually then kick off one of these Power Automate flows that will update your HR system or update some spreadsheet or whatever it is you need to update. It can update that. It can actually assign people tasks. It can make all that work less person-centric, I guess. And then with Power Apps, you can, as I mentioned before, you can build custom no-code applications. So won't demonstrate those because those are topics within of themselves, but happy to do that at another date. All right.
Hey, Jim, before
Yeah.
you go on, Courtney had a question earlier.
Oh,
I don't know if
sorry.
she still has it or not, but you're on
Sure.
mute.
Yeah, sure. Well, it was when we were talking about Power BI,
Yep.
and I was curious if Power BI, because Excel is a Microsoft program, is Power
Yep.
BI, it's not to replace it, but is it to pull data from other programs?
So,
Or
yeah, yes. So Power BI can pull data from pretty much anywhere, including Excel. And there is a plugin to Excel that's a Power BI plugin that you can actually, as they call Power Query, that allows you to do some of the same capabilities. But it's really, if it allows you to not have to, like in Excel, if you want to build trend graphs and stuff like that, there's a lot of refreshing and all that stuff that has to happen to make sure it kind of does all that stuff automatically, and it's available on a website, right? So you don't have to open up a document. It's available on a website. Out of the box is available, so you have I don't want to get too much detail on how it works, but you got workspaces, and then you have a personal workspace. So out of the box, you can put it to your personal workspace. You just can't share it with anybody else. You'd have to upgrade to Pro, which is $6 per user a month or something like that. It's not break the bank kind of stuff necessarily, if it's useful to you, and then you can share it. Like I'm working with a nonprofit that they decided to share it. They're actually sharing it with the board, right? So but they only refresh it at certain points, so the board's not seeing everything real time. They're seeing it when they want to see it, and that allows the board to sort of see the trends and some of the targets that they've set, and how we're doing against how they're doing. I said we're doing, but how they're doing against the targets. I feel like part of it because I built it, but so yeah, that's, hopefully that helps answer your
Cool.
question.
Yeah,
But
thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It gives a more user-friendly dashboard look. You can create that in addition to what you could do with Microsoft Excel or Power Pivot, which is a part of Microsoft Excel.
Yeah.
But then you can create this visualization board, like you said, as a dashboard, like you are driving in your car,
Yeah. I'll give you an example. So in my previous company that I ran, I used Power BI to looking basically at our revenue, the revenue projections, as well as revenue booked, right, kind of thing. So some of that came out of QuickBooks, some of that came out of our CRM system, some of that came out of our project management system, and it just took all that data and then it kind of munged it all together in a way that you could look at it in one way. That'd be a lot harder to do in Excel, to be quite honest with you. That's why, because that's why I went to Power BI, because I couldn't do it in Excel anymore. And then I became so attracted to Power BI, I stopped using Excel, just because Power BI is actually a lot easier to work with your data, in my opinion. But I'm a nerd, so take that for what it's worth.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I might email about that at some point.
Yeah. So going to give you a few use cases, and we're getting close on time here, but how can I use this in my company, right? So these are just scratching the surface, but just to give you some ideas. So the finance and accounting, Power BI, we just talked about that, using for financial dashboards. A lot of these systems that you have, if you're using like a QuickBooks or something like that, has some of that. They're usually kind of crappy. This allows you to augment that data a little bit and get some additional value. Power Automate, I've used it for billing process automation, right? So it can read files and then determine what to do with that, and send out emails, and then actually even monitor the incoming of that. Power Apps, timesheet automation. That's usually a really easy one that people, if they have a need to do timesheets. I've always worked at a service company, so timesheets are kind of the bread and butter of what you do. So timesheets are super duper important. So that's one. Inventory is another one that comes up. Operations, I mentioned inventory down there. Operations, again, you'll see dashboards of Power BI. Power Automate, approval workflows. It can also do data entry. It can, if you have a lot of activities where you get data in from other people, where it's on a spreadsheet, and then you have to copy and paste it to your spreadsheet, or somehow ingesting it can do all that for you. And then so it takes the place. So it can save sometimes an hour or two of work a day or a week, depending on how much effort is there. Performance monitoring, Power BI, you can tier these things, right? So you can have a financial dashboards, you can have operation dashboards, you can have an enterprise dashboard that looks at the whole enchilada, right? What I will say about Microsoft that they've actually made that a little easier to do than it was in the past. So you can actually share data sets between between dashboards. Power Automate data movement, right? So one part of what we did for the dashboards I was talking about, I was getting data from lots of different places. In some cases, I had to actually get it as a spread. I had to download a spreadsheet because the system didn't have an integration point. So I had to download that spreadsheet, move that spreadsheet into SharePoint, and had Power BI look at one place in SharePoint for all of its data. For sales, Power BI can help you with funnel management, keep track of where you're at in your sales process. Teams is a great tool of sales. From my experience, if you're having a team collaborate against a particular sales pursuit, it's a great place to share that information. Like I showed with that loop thing, where we're try to collect information around the RFP questions that we want to ask, or answers to the questions that were asked of us. Power Apps, Power Apps is built on Microsoft CRM system, to be quite honest with you, or I should say Microsoft CRM is built on top of that, but you get a lot of the CRM capabilities out of the box with Power Apps. I'll give you an example. I built a CRM and a distribution system for a nonprofit in 2 weeks, and just out of the box. Now, for nonprofits, the extra bonus for them, their licensing's free. so they got a pretty robust system for free. And then human resources, we talked about Viva Learning, Power Automate. It's great for onboarding and offboarding activities. SharePoint, policy management, a great place to put your policies because you can lock them down and not have them be editable. Having an intranet site is another thing that's good there. And then Viva Engage for employee engagement, if you're big enough to have something that where you need that. But I will say Viva Engage is good when you have a distributed team. You got to find ways to get people to stay connected, right? And those are some tools that are helpful there. Going to talk about a couple quick add-ons that are not part of your licensing, but I would highly recommend you explore. Power BI Pro, which I mentioned before, that allows you to share the Power BI. That's just an upgrade. Viva Goals, if you are a big goal setter and have sort of vision boards and that kind of stuff, and want to collate those into individual people's objectives and goals, that's a tool that might be helpful. It leverages the OKR method if you're familiar with that, and then you can actually integrate Teams and make that be your phone system as well, for very, very little cost. And then Microsoft 365 Copilot brings AI and it only focuses on the things that are in your environment, and it allows you to. I love it for knowledge management. I don't know how, I can't remember where that document was. I'll give you an example. When I first started using this, when it first came out, somebody asked me at the previous consulting company I was at, said, "Didn't we do a project for so-and-so that did something like this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't remember anything about it. I wasn't on it. I don't know anything about it." So I said, "Hey," I said, "Copilot, write a case study on client X where we did this kind of work, blah, blah, blah." And it gave me back a great summary of that project by looking at emails and looked at the project repositories and et cetera, et cetera. So I was like, okay, I'm sold, And then my second one I did, it gave me back junk, but it's learning as it goes. So now what I will say with Copilot 365, you need to make sure that you're managing your content well. Otherwise, because it's still garbage in, garbage out. It's still a system, right? Despite the fact that it does have a way to think differently than other computer systems do. So I'd be remiss if I didn't offer that we have a lot of we can provide a lot of help in this journey with you guys. If you find a technology that you didn't know that existed and you think might fit into your organization, we can help you in that implementation. We do operational assessments and recommendations, and part of those recommendations are what tool sets would be helpful to use. And we're always going to look for the tool sets that are things you already have first before we offer other tool sets. We can assess automation readiness. If you think you're ready to bring automation into your organization, there's some things that we can do to help you ensure that you're ready. We can, as I mentioned, the no-code solution design implementation. We love to create dashboards. I think we all have that love in our heart. And then we can automate customer retention and personalization, HR processes. We bring all of the operational knowledge to bear and how to leverage these technologies. And then if you're ready to dip your toes into the AI pool, love to help you figure out what that journey looks like. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Stacy, since